Hello, and welcome to the Ask Arlene Show. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm your host, Arlene, and I am a life coach and business consultant specializing in the area of peak performance and momentum coaching. And so today we're also excited because we have a special guest with us on the program today, and none other than Cathrine James. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her background in just a minute. As always, I always want to welcome our audience, the people who are online watching while we're recording. Thank you guys for joining. I also want to thank our team, our Ask Arlene Show team, for working diligently. Today we had some technical difficulties, so we started a couple of minutes behind, but I'm so excited that we're on now and we're able to be with you. So as a peak performance or momentum life coach, what I do is I help you to move forward in your business, project, or endeavor. So have you ever wanted to start a business, maybe put something together, but you just haven't seemed to get started? Or maybe you already have a business and you're looking to 10x that business that you do have, take it to the next level, do some more with it, expand it, but you just haven't seemed to do it? Well, you're in the right place today because the lovely lady that I have with us today is someone who has overcome many obstacles and many challenges and is going to share with us tips and techniques as to how she was able to move forward. So we're really excited to share this time with her and give her an opportunity to enlighten us and illuminate us so that we can move forward in our projects as well. So for those of you that don't know, her name is Cathrine James, and she is a dynamic coach. And I'm just going to go through her bio. I'm not going to read everything for you, but I'm going to give you the highlights. She's a trainer, she's a speaker, and she's often described as no nonsense. Cathrine is a quiet storm who has turned many tragedies into triumphs. She has an ability to identify and simplify complex issues in both the workplace and in one's personal life. As a young girl, Cathrine knew she was created to make a difference in the world. How exciting. And however, like many, Cathrine was taught to go to school, to get a good job. And as a result of her dreams of instilling hope and adding value to the lives of others, were placed on hold to pursue a career. Now, I have known Cathrine for several years now, and I met her at a women's conference and a business conference in California. And during that time, I was very motivated and inspired, not only by her background, because she has been in corporate America and she's earned six figures, and she has worked with the John Maxwell training facility. So I'm not just excited about that, which is in her bio, and her bio is exceptional. But one of the things that I'm excited about, and one of the reasons why I'm bringing her to you today, is because of the genuine love and care that she has for people. That's what inspires me most about Cathrine. And I believe that that is one of her key tools that she's able to use in order to open the hearts and the minds and to touch, move, and inspire people to move forward and to do great things. So without further ado, as I said, this is someone who has been my coach and someone who has inspired me greatly. I'm very excited to introduce to some and reintroduce to others one of my mentors and one of the people who I feel inspired by, Miss Cathrine James. Yay! Cathrine, hello!
Hey, Arlene, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that intro and a new awareness, actually. Just in that, the spirit is what I use to help bring people out. And I had never thought of that. So thank you.
Absolutely. That's what separated you to me from so many other coaches, because there are very many people who are in this industry. There are very many people who are very qualified on paper, but you really have the heart that moves and touches and inspires others and inspired me and my family. So tell us now, Cathrine, that we finally have you on air because we had so many difficulties and challenges getting you here today. What would you say to us to share with us as far as who you are and who you would like us to know you as?
Yes, I am a coach and an author, and I have earned six figures. However, I am a woman who also struggled with loving herself for many years, who struggled with perfectionism, who struggled with this thing I call overachieveritis, as a result of not really feeling loved growing up. A bit of my backstory: I was born to two teenagers. Both my parents were 16 when I was born. My mother lost her mother at the age of 14. My father had been in and out of foster care since I think age 9. So both of them hadn't experienced much love. Prior to my mother's losing her mother, she grew up in a home where there was a lot of alcoholism. So they didn't, either of them really knew what love looked like or how to give love. And I became a product of that. So I grew up, with the exception of my great grandmother, really wondering if I was loved. And after she passed when I was 18, I just felt like no one on this earth loved me anymore. And so I struggled. I struggled with self-worth. I struggled with just being someone who was valued and significant in the world. And as a result of, when I began to do work on myself, when I began to step into who I was really called to be, I knew that my calling was going to be toward women, women who had worked in a corporate sector, women who on the outside looked like they had it all together, and what I like to say looked like a public success, but felt like a private failure, women who looked as though everything was okay, were afraid to raise their hand and say that things weren't okay. I knew that that's who I was called to, that's who I was drawn to, and that is why I show up every day.
Awesome. Awesome. I learned things about you that I didn't know before. Those weren't actually in your bio, nor have you shared in the past. Thank you for sharing with us. Now, that also lends to perhaps why you're so intent and intentional in your compassion for others, because you know what it is to be in a challenging situation. You know what it is to hurt and not to feel love. And my background is just as what you were describing, somebody who was in corporate America. I did work in sales. I worked for American International Group. I worked in politics for the DNC. And one of the challenges in terms of sales, or one of the tips and secrets, I should say, in terms of sales that people use in order to be exceptional in sales, ironically, is this concept of truly loving your client and truly having compassion for the client. So it lends to why you would stand out in the marketplace, because you truly know how to make that connection. Now, what are some of the things that you did in order to transition? Because based on your background, you should have been very challenged and not been able to achieve the six-figure earnings and achieve the management level and high-level corporate positions that you did. So what are some of the tools and techniques that you used in order to move forward in corporate America and to just heal?
So I'll clarify that. It was actually what I know now, my background, that caused me and allowed me to achieve those things. I spent a number of years searching for acceptance and approval. I spent a number of years showing up to prove that I was significant, that I was worth something. A number of years living my life to say that I'm not stupid, which is what I heard a lot when I was a child, or I'm not dumb. So this whole thing with perfectionism and being the overachiever.
And that's shocking, because you're a brilliant woman.
Yes, I will say all things are for us. All things happen for us and not to us. So despite having accomplished all these things internally, I was conflicted. I was very unhappy. And even though my life, again, looked really good on the outside, I knew on the inside that I did not feel good. And so my steps began was just taking a journey. I started listening to cassettes, and there's like this little joke now that I have of a bunch of old white men, which were like your Jim Rohns and your Earl Nightingales, because that was all that I could get my hands on at the time. And I just started listening to tapes. And I remember, I think it was Earl Nightingale talking about the acres of diamonds. And I would listen to that story over and over and over and over in my car, taking the kids to school, taking the kids to practices. I would listen to that story. And I began to understand that there is a diamond inside. And it's up to me to pull that diamond out. It's up to me to wipe that diamond off. And that means, just as diamonds, sometimes we go through a lot of pressure. We go through a lot of pain, but you're just being refined. And I began to look at my past as the refining moments. So I continued to pour. I continued to do self-development. I would listen to the tapes. I would go to conferences, and eventually got a coach of my own, and just kept diving deeper to really discover who was this little girl that my creator created, and who did he really create me to be. It wasn't the overachiever. It wasn't the perfectionist. Now, I do believe those qualities are innately mine, but the reason behind them was it was a negative driving force. So I had to let go of all of that to step into who I am today.
Okay. So the recent book that I've written, it's called The 10 Secrets to Overcoming Fear and Getting Unstuck After COVID-19. And one of the secrets or tips and techniques in there is this concept of coaching, and having a coach, having somebody to come alongside you to help you to go to that next level. And I see you as somebody who has done that from a practical perspective for others, and you've done that for me. But how were you able to, what techniques did you use in order to make that transition? So we know you made it, and we know you stepped forward, but can you tell us some techniques that you used in order to do that?
So first, let me say congratulations on the book. And I don't know if there's specific techniques. So when I talk about listening to tapes, and I talk about going to conferences, it was really about immersing myself in the personal development world and staying in that community until I began to believe in myself, until I began to believe in my abilities. It was going from one coach to another coach to another
so
coach.
let me hold it there 1 second. Okay, so when you started out, you had these challenges. You had grandma, you lost grandma, you were feeling left out there, insecure. I can relate to that because I lost my mom, as you know, in recent years, and I was just devastated because it was such a shock. I have a grandmother who's 106, so I really never expected my mom to go so suddenly and so quickly at such a young age for our family. So you went to these coaches, and you went, because that's what we're talking about, and we're saying how essential coaches are and how essential mentors are in order to move forward. And you were listening to the Earl Nightingale and the Jim Rohns, and there was something in there that made you say, well, you know what, I am somebody, and I really do have a purpose, and I really am driven, as opposed to where you were before saying, I don't know if I can make this. I don't know if I can get through. Of all of the multiplicity of tools and techniques and things that you heard, is there anything or one thing that you could share with us that stood out to you, that helped you to make that transition mentally? Because so many of us are in that journey. There's so many people, especially now during COVID-19, where people are losing their jobs and feeling less than, and people are being put out of their homes because they're not able to pay their rent now, which they were able to handle in the past. But there was something that you heard out of the multitude of conversations and the multitude of sayings, positive sayings, that kind of made you transition. Is there anything that you could share with us that might help us to transition as well?
I don't know that it's that easy. I don't know that it's that simple. I can't say that there was one thing. And if I were to say one thing, it is
or two or three.
Listening to your innate self, listening to your soul. There was always a glimmer inside of me where there was always hope, and there was always a piece of me that said, if they can do it, you can do it. And then I was raised in a religious home. I'm very spiritual. I knew scripture, and one that I hung on to was, God is no respecter of person, which means what he's given to others, he can give to me. I am supposed to live in abundance. That is what the book that I live by says. So even though my life didn't look like that, those words would play in my head. And I just kept saying, how do I get what I have been promised? How do I get what I have been promised? And with each step, with each coach, it wasn't the first coach. The first coach peeled off one layer. And then I had another coach. That coach peeled off another layer. I still am being coached. And they're still peeling off layers. And now we're 22 years later. It's not just a one specific. It's a journey. And you keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. You allow yourself to have your breakdowns because our stuff doesn't always look good. But what I've come to understand is that as humans, our lives are messy. It's human. If it weren't messy, we wouldn't be human. We have to accept that. But then we also get to say, how do I clean up this mess and make it look the way I desire for it to look?
So I think that is so amazing, what you're saying, which is that you had several layers that needed to be peeled off. You had several coaches that you worked with in order to get to that next level. And like myself, I'm suggesting, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, that many people are sitting in that seat. And you mentioned that you had gone to church. You mentioned that you were a spiritual person. So I'm even going to take the leap of faith to say you had heard those concepts before, as far as you said, God is no respecter of persons. So you had been told that in the past, that you were somebody from a religious perspective or from a church perspective. You saw it in the Bible, read it in the books, but yet it didn't really register for you. It didn't become real and powerful and begin to manifest in your life, where you then were able to manifest into this wonderful, transformative person that you are. And if there is something that you can remember or recall, or or something that you use when you're coaching people to get them over that hump that you can share with us, I think that would be amazing and really, really helpful, because many of us are in that situation. Many of the people that listen to this program are religious people. They've read the Bible. They've, been in churches all their lives, and yet they're not seeing that level of success manifested in their lives like you are today. So what is it that you can think of that was able to help you to begin to manifest it in all those different levels of onion peeling, the different coaches?
So I believe that my spirituality is the seed. All of the scriptures were the seeds that were planted. It was the information that wouldn't allow me to quit. The biggest thing that I could say is, if life doesn't look the way you desire, is to go and seek information that is going to be conducive for your life. A lot of times we hear people saying things, we compare our lives to other people and we think it's supposed to look like that, or we hear people saying you should do this or you should do that. I just don't believe that there is a one shoe that fits all sizes, or all sizes for every person. You have to know what's going to work for you. And I say this because I was that person. I went over here and I tried to see if that was going to fit. I went over here and I tried to see if that shoe was going to fit. And one day I woke up and I said, what is your heart telling you? What is your heart telling you? And as I began to just get still and listen, I found myself becoming more and more content with who I am. I found myself falling in love with who I am, because I think all of us have like this greatness and this juiciness that we overlook because we're looking out there. We're looking at somebody else. We're looking at what they're doing or what they're saying, and we think that that's how we should show up. But we are uniquely made. There are things that get in the way. I sit in the realm of trauma now, and I realize that there are historical issues that show up and they cause us to behave the way that we do. But to everyone, I say, if there is any aspect of your life that doesn't feel good to you, find out why. Find out what your stories are. Find out what your beliefs are. Find out what your behaviors are and where do they come from.
Hi, I'm Arlene, host of the television talk show Ask Arlene, which airs on Thursdays at 6:30. And as a business consultant and life coach, I help you to move forward in your business, project, or endeavor. So if you always wanted to write a book, but you just haven't seemed to get started, or you always wanted to 10x that business that you already have, expand it to the next level, you know exactly what you need to do, but you just haven't done it? Well, I've already purchased all the courses, read all the books, the Tony Robbins, all sorts. I have several degrees, including a master's degree and credits toward a doctorate. I've sat with and met celebrities and done the networking. And what I've realized is what I really needed was a mastermind group of people working toward my project, my business, or my endeavor. So what I've done is met with coaches and met with experts and put them together to work on your project. So join us today for our Mastermind networking group. I'll see you there. Click the link below and join us.
Ooh. Name some things I'll be without you, good. Stop the growth, I bet you think you could. Said you gon' leave me, man, I wish you would. Yeah, I'm different, so I'm misunderstood. So I'ma always be good. Said I'ma always be good. What would you say if I told you the people you missing won't call you again? What would you say if I told you the people around you don't stick to the end? Newer vibes and different faces. Life is all in different phases. How can you fly away if the people around you still got you in cages? You need empire, get the empress, yeah, yeah. Cop your kingdom, lead the fences, yeah, yeah. Keep the facts, I hate pretenders, yeah. No days off, I got perfect attendance. No vacation trips, I don't pray for this. So it's only right I stay with this. Man, y'all can hate on this. Past 180, that's my kin. Sticking with them to the end. And I love them like my bands. Keep them detailed, take a spin, yeah. Name some things I'll be without you, good. Stop the growth, I bet you think you could. Said you gon' leave me, man, I wish you would. Yeah, I'm different, so I'm misunderstood. So I'ma always be good. Said I'ma always be good.
So I met a famous person that gave me some advice. I'm trying to figure out what to do next. Okay, so 3 tips. Number 1, when people give you advice and you know that they have already achieved what you're trying to achieve, listen to them. Don't argue with them. Don't argue. I can't tell you the number of times that people have asked me questions, young people, mature people, and they've said, well, how did you get here or how did you get there? And I tell them, and then they start to argue with me. Number one is just listen to the person. If you trusted them enough to ask them the question, listen to what they say, and don't argue. And number two, take action. Nothing happens until you take action. So if I sit and I ask President Trump, how did you make $1 million? And he gives me the secret to real estate investment because he's somebody who's made money in real estate, and then I don't take action to do what he says, then has any of his information helped me? No. So step number 2 would be to take action. Always take action based on what they say to you. And that's why some people don't want to mentor others. That's why this mentoring process is so challenging, because you sit with somebody for an hour, you give them all this information, and then if they do nothing with it, it doesn't help you and it doesn't help the mentor. So I always say, take action. And number 3 is don't pull up the weeds. Don't pull up the weeds, guys. So if you have spent the time, you've invested the time to listen to the person, now you're taking the action. 3 is to trust the process. Whatever it is takes time. So when you plant a tree, it takes years for the tree to grow. The same thing with business, the same thing with whatever the enterprise is that you're trying to build. If you want to be a master singer, Beyonce doesn't sing the way she sings today 10 years ago. Like, she's made progress. It took time. No matter what it is that you want to achieve, all you sweeties and wonderful gentlemen with all this charisma and excitement and energy, as wonderful as you are, no matter who you are, it's going to take time. Don't pull up the weeds. So sometimes people will continue to check and say, well, I already did it for 2 days and it didn't work. It takes time, whether it be a year, whether it be 2 years. And what I would like to impress upon you guys is to talk to people who have achieved greatness and ask some of them on the side. Because if you ask them on television or you listen to their interviews, they'll say, oh yeah, it was great. I popped out the womb as a wonderful person. But if you really get the side story, you're going to find that people trusted the process. They've been working diligently for years. And I'll give you an example. I know a gentleman who is now making millions. Every day, this guy was sitting at his table typing on his computer. It was an extremely boring lifestyle as far as I could see from my perspective. But then the end product was that all of that work paid off, and yours will pay off too. Good luck to you guys. Do what you're supposed to do. Peace.
Appointment at 8. Bruno City traffic, man, I can't be late. Don't fake shine, I'll miss it, what you gotta say. You were quick to make decisions, why now hesitate? I settle for less, but I deserve so much more. And baby, I charge interest, so this price you can't afford. If it's right or it's left, maybe for a kid, only 4. But you need your right from your right, that's wrong. Returning what you throw will make you feel right back. Was done in the dark, that's no secret. Why you keeping them like napkins in the compartment, baby? You don't need me, just use me for your play. Now I could regret messing with my feng shui. Now I accept sorries and royalties. I'm taking that in cash, no